Hello, welcome friends. I hope you guys are well. Hope you guys had an amazing trading week. Sorry I had to come on and off again because I'm not sure if it tapped in properly. So, all right, I see you guys are coming on. Hope you guys are all well. Had a good trading week today. This week was obviously full of excitement. We had a very kind of average beginning of the week, lots of chopping back and forth. Thank you. Blessings, you too. And then finally, we had at the end of the week, after some news came out regarding rare earth minerals from China, that we then saw a little bit of a liquidation at the end of the week. Now, the reality is that most Fridays we have seen bearish activity. So I don't think that the chart was obviously completely different than weeks prior, except for the Friday that was end of month. That was then a bullish ending to the week. But other than that, most recently, most of our weeks have actually been bullish to, neutral. And then the Friday we get the last little squeeze and then the rollover when we can't really beat the previous day's highs, which is exactly what we had on Friday. But of course, then the aggressive pressing into the end of day, selling begetting selling, was a lot of people taking profit on positions that had just run crazy high, and of course then reacting to the news. Obviously people are already kind of on edge since all of September. We never really had the pullback that seasonally is kind of the consistent pattern to trade. But so October, gave us a bit of it. Now, going back historically, if you just look at, generally what happens in September, October, end of August, September and October, really like every year we have an approximate 10% pullback or move back to at least the 100 moving day average. And there's never been a year, looking quickly, don't think there's ever been a year that 2.5 month kind of period didn't kind of give us a pullback to the 100 moving day average. So to be honest, I think that, this is, we're just moved back to, I think, the 20 EMA. So we're not even close to the 100 moving average. So, Monday, I think, is going to be really important, how much of this kind of mean reverts with every, now that Xi and Trump acting like we didn't really want it to get out of control like this. So we'll see what's going on. All right, my always likes to do a little game with us. I don't know. I think it's like the Instagram foreplay. Like, can the co-host get on? Can you not? What's gonna happen? Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, I didn't realize actually my headphones are not tapped in. Bizarre.
Albert, can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Okay.
but my headphones didn't want to work today. That I thought so. I was like, I feel like I'm not hearing anything from them. So hopefully we don't get too much uh whatever it's called, echoing from my
Echoing.
side.
That's fine.
So, how are you? How was your trading week? Congratulations on your puts.
On my, what was that?
Your puts? Didn't you have puts on SPX? Didn't I see you post SPX puts? I thought I
Oh,
saw
no,
you.
I didn't have any FPS puts.
Ah,
On Friday, listen, Friday, I literally was like, yeah, I had a good week. I'm chilling. I went to the barbershop and I'm in the chair and I just I'm getting all these alerts. Bling, bling, bling. I'm like, what is going on? And I look down and I'm like, I see like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, clearly President Trump tweeted something. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let my barber hurry up and finish up my cut. And then I get out the chair and I like look at my phone and I'm like, damn, what did he say? And it was at that point, it was too late. So I just was like, I let it do what it do. But no, I didn't have any puts or anything. So I totally missed the move on Friday, which is fine. Yeah, I still had a good week though. AMD on Monday, that was all I needed right there. That basically like that did the week for me right there in itself. So
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's funny. It was a great trading week. Monday, Tuesday was I mean, it was all just like all by the rhythm. The funny thing is that, we were in a downside SPX position just because,
okay,
we have these systematic trades on,
yeah,
and it was telling us that we needed to have this downside position. And
yeah,
normally we don't have the downside position. And I honestly was like, we've had so many times where we're looking for downside, and it just, the position hits, but it does like gives you like, the basic scalp. It doesn't give you like this massive return. So Friday, suddenly I was like, why do I hear my take profit going so fast? Because I literally was like looking at the charts, we were above settlement, turn around, and then suddenly we're like breaking below the Bollinger Band, and I'm like, wait, what's happening? Who did this?
yeah,
I mean, I'm not mad at it. I got tapped out of my take profit, but still, what's happening? But of course, it didn't feel, I mean, I felt like I didn't get short. I wasn't short enough for the move that actually happened. But, I took my son was not unhappy with the returns in his account on Friday. I can just say that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like my guy and I always say, or no, it's there's a meme going around, and it's actually a pretty old one, where it's like Trump tweet, your technical analysis has it can't match up with my tweets. Um, but no, I mean, I think, the biggest thing for me is everybody kind of knew a pullback would happen, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, the trend was so strong, it was kind of like, all right, don't fight the uptrend, but be cautious. I think a lot
Mhm.
of people were like, how would you say it? Cautious, like cautiously bullish, right?
Yeah.
Like we kind of like, I mean, how many times did people have said, "Oh, the market is extended. This is a crazy run." Eventually there's going to be something that comes out of left field that can kind of like rock the market. In hindsight, it's like we all, in hindsight, you're like, well, of course it's going to be a Trump tweet, right?
Mhm.
Like if one if not if FOMC if none of the catalysts couldn't do it, then hey, we can always count on Trump, right?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean I think this was it was necessary. I think when you think about so there was a couple of things that were starting to get unsettling. So I was happy Friday happened. I think some
Mhm.
of my long term positions, they took a little bit of a hit or whatever, but I'm not worried at all. That's the reason why I buy time.
Mhm.
That's one reason why I trade the way I trade is because I don't really, you never know when something like that is going to happen.
Mhm.
And so a lot of people who are trading short term calls or whatever, they probably got smoked.
Mhm.
Like, it's game over. But when I think about it, there were a couple of troubling signs. I mean, the amount of leverage that was being used recently was kind of getting out of hand. One thing I noticed from my community is I started to see a little bit of a trend that I'm like, people are really starting to get risky. You bringing up names that, come on now, y'all. We got names like Amazon that are still flat, and you want to go look at this name, like,
Mhm.
people were saying on the internet, oh, it's easy money. When I start to hear and see things like that, I
Mhm.
know, okay, we're getting to a place where it, something is gonna need to like shake people up a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, and so again, I mean, yeah, I missed the move on Friday, but I'm not
No.
tripping. I mean,
No,
I
I
wasn't
think.
panicked at
Yeah,
all.
so I mean, something I was mentioning before you tapped in, um, you know, I don't remember. I was listening to something, so this isn't my research, and I'm always listening like in the background to different podcasts. So sometimes I don't really remember where exactly I got it from. So I would like to acknowledge that somebody else came up with this, but they were saying like, looking back historically, we have never not had like about a 10% pullback, or like a pullback to at least the 100 moving average during this seasonal period. Like it doesn't, so if it doesn't happen, and normally that does happen in September. Now, sometimes it comes a little bit earlier. So you get it like the end of August after that August OPEX. Or if it doesn't happen though in those times, then it always happens in October. So it could be that, all of us were thinking that, okay, April gave us such a massive pullback. I mean, 20% was huge. That maybe it kind of pulled everything forward. And, the market was climbing the wall of worry. It was just, doing as you said, like, the trend is your friend. You can't just stop leaning into the trend, or otherwise you lose way too many days of returns in a
Yep.
market that just tends to be bullish, right?
Yep.
So, um, but they're saying that maybe that's, maybe we're going to end up having that. And I think that, I don't know that like the China stuff was truly the catalyst that like dumped things, because I mean, I think that the timing of it, like, everything synced up. But a lot of the things that pulled back don't have anything to do with rare earth metals. So, or with, refining rare earth minerals. And, it's so there was an aspect of it where like everything was overextended. People were taking a lot of profits. You have a lot of people that aren't sure like where to lean in their money. You have a lot of retail investing. I mean, people made a lot of money last week on these squeezes. Even if you would have just like been watching YouTube gurus and, picked some cheap stocks, you could have
Yep.
been making money the last couple of weeks. So, where is that point where even a retail investor starts to feel like, what? Like the market only gives you 15% a year, and I'm seeing like 100 and 100 and 100 and 100% return. Maybe it's like time for me to just like go and like get ready for Halloween. I don't know, like get ready for Indigenous Peoples Day on Monday. Like at what point does even like the normal reasonable person start to feel like, yeah, this is a lot. It's okay for me to like take some time away. I don't, I'm not like hunting for my life here. It's okay to
Yeah.
take a rest. So, but I don't know.
No, I mean, so I guess to kind of just to go back a little bit to one of the things you mentioned about the catalyst. I think I mean, like I don't. For me, I try not to overcomplicate it, right? So I think
Hmm.
this was to me this was very simple, and this I said this to my community. I have this written and everything. There were a couple of things that were very clear to me that while I didn't know what the trigger would be, it was signs there that we needed, that a cool off would be coming, right? One of the things that stood out to me was the VIX.
Hmm.
And I told my community, I said, hey, we need to kind of keep our eye on the VIX because it's making, yet, while small, it's making higher highs and higher lows. At the
Mm.
same time, while the market continues to climb, the VIX is not making new lows,
Hmm.
as well as it was coiling up. So it was on track for a big volatility
Hmm.
explosion, right? So that was like one of the things that stood out to me, that said, okay, a 1 day move like this could be on the horizon.
Hmm.
Um, Again, the other part is like you said, a lot of money has been made. I mean, the market was overextended. Let's just say it is what it is, right? I think
Hmm.
let's look at it like this, right? A lot of gurus were calling for a pullback in August and September. It never happened,
Hmm.
right? So now it was just delayed, and so here we are in October, at the beginning of the quarter. And once again, this was something that my community and I we talked about in our prep sessions. Was hey, listen, if we really want to get that good run at the end of the year, November, December, if you just put your charts on a quarterly chart, you need to pull back to create that wick so you can spring forward. So
Hmm.
I think I had mentioned early on I was looking for a red October, but we started off kind of hot. So I was like, damn, are we even going to get a red October? Like, is this thing just going to continue straight,
Yeah.
melting up? Right.
Hmm.
But there were signals there. There were a lot of negative divergences. But once again, this was something else I told my people was I was like, look, there's a million and one divergences that I could show you guys, but the market has not cared. So I don't really want to waste your time with pointing out, well, the IRS is the IRS, the RSI is divergent, or the MACD is divergent, or you got this like there are so like it doesn't matter what you trade, but there are so many divergences that were bearish. It was only a matter of time before we kind of got a washout, right?
Yeah.
And then, like I had mentioned before, it was so much leverage being used that you kind of needed this washout. And it is even more evident when you look at the crypto moves that happened when this whole thing went down. And the fact that let me look real quick. I think crypto has completely recovered. Well, I won't say completely recovered, but I mean, a lot of them have recovered a good amount of those losses already. Right. And again, we talk about the trigger. I think me and you talked about it. Everything just kept getting kicked down the road. It was supposed to be Jackson Hole. Then it was supposed to be FOMC. Then it was supposed to be the rate cut. Then it was supposed to be the jobs. Then it was supposed to be inflation, right? Like it was supposed to be all these reasons that the market was supposed to drop, but it never did it. And it's ironic, if anybody follows, I think it's like the Kabashi letter on Twitter. They've actually had some good threads this weekend that make a lot of sense, which is that this rare earth move by China, it had came out like the day before and there was no reaction. I actually I retweeted it. It was like the battle of rare earth metals, right? But nothing happened. Yeah. And nothing really happened until Trump decided to come out and tweet and say, oh, China's being hostile. I'm going to increase massive tariffs. And we all know that is the biggest relationship on a global scale. It's us and China, right? Yeah. And I think because we were in such a complacent place where everything was going smoothly, everything being said about the relationship was in a good place, that when you have this sudden change of heart, we know that the market is a very emotional place. And so when you hear something like that, it was an automatic like, oh, whoa, what's going on? And because the market had been searching for a reason to sell off and people had made so much money, there was a combination of profit taking, liquidating. Do not forget, it was a Friday, so you probably had a ton of margin calls that happened. Yep. People were probably closing out and taking profits because you don't want to have that risk over the weekend of possible escalation. So there was a lot of unknowns. So I think, to me, it was definitely a huge overreaction because, again, if people really looked into what the move was by China, it really wasn't that bad. They were just saying, hey, look, you just need to obtain a license to if you're a foreign exporter, you have to obtain a license to export these rare earth minerals. That's almost the same thing that the United States has been doing to companies like NVIDIA and AMD. Hey, you need to have a license if you're going to sell your stuff to China, right? It wasn't like China banned it, raised tariffs, or anything of that nature. It was as simple as if you're a foreign company, you got to get a license. And now we see over the weekend, they both are de-escalating already.
Well, that was actually
like people are so emotional. It's like, yo, y'all gotta let the dust settle. That's the problem that I have in today's society is we live in such an instant gratification society that people do not give things time to settle. Like soon as there's a miscommunication, people get emotional and overreact. And it was like, bro, y'all need to like let the dust settle and see where things land because again, if you don't just go on the headlines, you could almost foreshadow that this was bound to happen as far as I guarantee, or I won't say I guarantee because I don't know, but I'll say I'm betting highly on the fact that those 100% tariffs that Trump said after the market don't be implemented. They're going to still have their meeting. They're probably going to come together and say, hey, this was just one big misunderstanding. All of which Trump and his team have pretty much already said on Twitter this weekend. Yep. And so now we're back at this point where, well, okay, what was the purpose of Friday? It was to basically calm down this froth. You know what I mean? Like we needed to clear out the froth. People were making money was becoming a little bit too easy. So we need to say, okay, hold your horses. All right. Like, let's go ahead and hold your horses. And because it was such a buy the dip mentality, you needed to have one of those wipeout days where if you bought that dip on Friday, you got smoked. Like you needed to have that washout sale.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, a lot of people who had short term stuff, they probably got cooked, and now you have a nice reset.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
I
think it was
I
necessary.
agree. I think that there's, there's two things. First, with Trump, there's always an element of like smoke and mirrors, the bait and switch. And so I think a big thing, and I thought this was really strange. A lot of the podcasts I was listening to, they were super excited about this ceasefire that was going to happen
In
in
Gaza and
Gaza. And
yeah,
and and the big headline for every single one of the podcasts was Hamas has accepted this so and so ceasefire. Hamas has accepted every single ceasefire. Like Hamas has never been the negotiating problem. They've
right.
wanted to stop this aggression from the beginning because they never had a goal of destroying Gaza. I mean,
Right.
so you
I
know
stay home.
yeah, so the funny thing about it is that suddenly it was this we've done this, but then Israel broke the ceasefire like 2 seconds after the ceasefire and was bombing residential buildings. And so, it's like everybody got hyper excited about this thing that wasn't even a thing. And I feel like because Trump didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize because, well, what peace has he created? But also the fact that the piece that he supposedly created so recently was a total sham.
Hmm.
Just I think that he wanted to just distract from that conversation as well. And so then he kind of blew up on China. But I do think, and this is the second part of my response to what you're saying, is people forget that Trump is very good at giving you bad news, taking it away, and then doing the thing anyways a few weeks later because he's basically already like cauterized the wound that's not there yet. um,
Yep.
so, and because he's always doing this like stress test, how bad will it be if we do this? And something that I think a lot of people are not, so I think that a lot of people are considering that the tariffs that have come out, that those are the tariffs that are set. I think that what they forget is that actually Trump sees the tariffs as being a rolling assessment. And so
Correct.
as like tariffs come out, they reset economy. You see that there's stability in the labor market and this and that, that the transitory piece of inflation has kind of been digested by the python. Now you do your next set of new of like round of tariffs and then maybe you reposition it from a different conversation. The
Yep.
idea that Trump has truly stepped back from his belief that tariffs should eradicate the income tax in the United States. I don't think that he's changed his mind on that. I think he's just letting companies have the like opportunity to adjust to those concepts. And he needs the public on sides. So he
Yep.
he needs to not do it right before an election. But I think
Right.
as we get towards those midterms and those midterms start to be behind us, that I think that like the US public should be well prepared that there could be another round of tariff dynamics that just start to pop off. But they're not going to be today. And he's
Nope.
definitely seen that the public is like not on sides in those kinds of like they don't want any more problems with China. Um,
Mhm.
so that might kind of stall his the when they come out with the next tariff. So I think that people have to be aware that we could have another April or March of 2025 in 2027
Mm.
once the economies have kind of settled out and they're ready for new tariff negotiations, maybe with different countries on different topics or whatever. But I don't think that has like gone away
Yeah, no, I
in
think
his mind.
he'll always use tariffs as his negotiating tactic, right? If he don't get what he want or if something happens he don't like, That's his go-to. All right, I'm about to slap 300% tariffs on you, and then next thing they're going to start to negotiate, and it's more, what is it, more bark than bite.
Hmm.
So
I was
yeah, I mean,
laughing at we talk a lot about China, but I was surprised after China, the next country with the highest tariffs is Bangladesh and then the United Arab Emirates. I was like, that feels really random. But I feel like there's a
I had no
story
idea.
behind those two countries that maybe we
Probably. I
have
mean,
yet to explore.
yeah, I don't. I had no clue about that. I would have. Yeah, I would. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even know we did that much business with them. I mean, UAE, I know, but Bangladesh, yeah, that's very random.
Yeah.
Would have never guessed that.
Yeah, so so what are your expectations going into the week? You're just waiting to see what happens. Um,
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm just trying to let the dust settle. So I wrote some notes, like as I've been preparing this week. We have like our Sunday night prep, so I really just been like trying to, really I've been asking myself, after this weekend. I usually take the weekend and I like to take in content. I just like to listen, because a lot of, people on Twitter or YouTube, they like to stir up emotions and things like that. So I just like to, I like to just get a good perspective of, well, what are other people thinking? What are they asking? Are they asking the right questions? Because if I could see a common theme, then I know that I need to think differently, because I always like to try to think differently. I don't never want to be asking the same questions, and excuse my language, but I don't like to be a part of the herd, right? If I feel like I'm a part of the herd, then I'm doing something wrong. So, um, after taking in all of the information and stuff like that, I feel like the point that most people are trying to answer for retail and people who has the question is, is this a market top, or is this just a minor pullback correction? Right. I think when I look at all the content people are putting out, that seems to be the question, or that's the argument, right? You have people who are bullish arguing, no, this is a healthy pullback. This is just a minor pullback before we go higher. And then you got people who are super bearish, like, nope, that's it. This is the top, game over. We're about to go into a recession, and that's it, right? And for me, uh, the clues that I'm looking for or I'm watching is, when I deal with the facts, this entire bullish run, the weekly 20 EMA has been key. That is the level that if we break that, then I know there's bigger trouble ahead. If we touch it and bounce off, then this is just a minor pullback or correction, and everything is fine. So like I said, how does the market react at the weekly 20 EMA? Based on my research, we don't see bigger corrections until that EMA is broken and rejected,
mhm.
which typically leads to us going down to a little bit further.
Yep.
The other clue that I'm looking towards is the VIX.
Mhm.
We had a 30%, 30 some odd percent increase on Friday. If that can maintain and stay above, levels of 20 and 18, then okay, this can prolong a little bit further. But if we see an instant rejection and the VIX starts to get back sub 18, back into the 18-15, then this is likely just a couple day sell off, and the trend is going to resume back up. I think the other part is, we about to kick off earnings season, right? So that's another thing about this pullback or this sell off, is that I'm kind of glad it happened, because I really don't want the market to run too hot into earnings, because then it doesn't leave any room for
Mhm.
a upside surprise, right?
Yep.
So the fact that we got this sell off right before earnings season, it feels a little bit like manipulation, where it's like, hey, let's go ahead, pull back, shake people out before earnings season comes. And if earnings season goes well, I think we'll be fine, right? That'll set
Mhm.
up the run for the end of the year. So, I think those are the key things. And then, of course, the two big issues still lingering is, okay, how is this China thing going to ultimately end, right? If
Mhm.
that results in de-escalation, I think that'll be
Mhm.
fine. We've already started to see that, but I think all of this is also another big distraction on this government shutdown. We're going into
Yep.
day number 12 or something like that.
Mhm.
You got service members who are set to get a
Yep.
paycheck this upcoming week.
Mhm.
Um, how is that going to disrupt the economy? If you have a lot of federal workers who don't get a paycheck, that could actually, cause a little bit of a hiccup.
Mhm.
So I'm still like keeping my eye on that. Like, okay, how long is this thing gonna last? Like, are they eventually gonna get this thing solved? Or how long can this
Mhm.
shutdown go on without the market actually reacting to it?
Yep.
So yeah, I think this week, I'm taking it easy. I'm letting the dust settle.
Mhm.
Um, I really want to see how things go. I think with the positions I'm in a lot of long term stuff. So the only thing I'm really contemplating on adding is maybe another layer to Apple.
Mhm.
Outside of that, yeah, I'm sitting on my hands for now,
Mhm.
not doing too much, not chasing puts or anything like that. If
Mhm.
I would, I tell people like this: if you wasn't positioned before Friday, I mean, unless you scalping or something,
Mhm.
me personally, I wouldn't be really looking to chase any puts yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just kind of chilling.
Yeah, I think that oftentimes people don't, if you don't feel certain about what's coming next, it's okay to like take a breath. People always forget that like the reason we talk about double tops and double bottoms and cups and handles and bases and tweezer bottoms and morning star and all these kinds of, like, the reason we talk about all of those things is because when something is giving you a healthy reversal, it leaves signs behind that that is what it's going to do. So this kind of constant FOMO that um, that I'm gonna miss the top. But then where do you get a double top from? Where do you get sweeps of liquidity? Like, why do retail traders come up with those ideas? It's not because they came out of nowhere. It's because somebody that's literally looking at the chart every single day over day for many years starts to notice that there are these repeatable patterns. And whether you call it A or you call it B or you call it C, at the end of the day, it's that you get these kind of these rounding patterns, or
Correct.
basing patterns or whatever, or double tops, double bottoms, they give
Yep.
you the sign that price is exhausted, and here it's at
Yep.
least going to take a bit of a breath. So it's
Yep.
okay if price gets exhausted. It's okay for the retail trader to also feel a bit exhausted, and then
Like
just take a
relax.
step back and say, you know what, I don't have to trade every single day. And this was on Friday we have a number of systematic trades that we take, like for the week, or we take
Yeah.
for the next day, or for at some certain duration. And on Friday I was like, you know what, like it doesn't, because volatility is just so high, the trades just don't fit the right risk reward. It actually is breaking my rules. So I don't mind like not participating
Right.
one day
Right.
in this trade setup. It's okay that Monday morning might be have been like the perfect situation and I missed out on a win. But you know what? Like, in the last 350 days I've had like 320 wins. I'm okay with
Right. Like
missing
I'm
one win.
good. Right.
I'm not dying. So um I think that like more people have to realize that even if you're at the beginning of your trading journey and you feel like you need to catch up to somebody else, you do still have to mimic when they breathe and when they rest. And
Mm-hmm.
something I
Mm-hmm.
noticed, like even in my Discord, that, always in December, after everybody's seen like the massive run up, I get a lot of people who are like rushing to join the Discord in January and February. And of course, in March, we had that massive drop. And a lot of people left the Discord. And I literally said, I said, I understand that people are feeling really stressed out about this. But I was like, you will be missing the opportunity of a lifetime in the
Yep.
next 6 months,
Yep.
unless you know how to trade by yourself and you're like
Yep.
setting up your own things. But like, if you are not ready to, and honestly, like we have SPX diagonals that are up over $33,000, like a piece, and they were like
Mm.
$1,000 to get in. If like, I told people, you're going to miss out on an amazing run up if you get scared on the drop, you will never participate in the correction. And we've seen so many corrections. We saw COVID, we saw it's
Yeah. Yeah.
this is how the legal system is structured, to like force everybody to kind of get back in and force the market back on sides. But it's I think that often people feel like, oh, if long-term traders are taking a break now, that's when I need to lean in. But it's not like sports. It's not like
Mm.
sports, like that when other people are resting, I'm gonna like play another hour to like get my stamina up or whatever. No, you're just gonna burn yourself out and
Yeah.
get wrecked. Because if if good traders are like, these aren't the right conditions, and let me take a day off, it means that there are other aggressive traders with a lot more money. Because I'm not the most conservative trader. I
Mm.
mean, I'm a conservative trader compared to retail traders, but not
Mm.
compared to hedge funds. Hedge
Right.
funds are
Right.
I mean, hedge funds aren't even getting 5% right now. Our
Right.
portfolios are up like thousands of percent this year. So I'm not conservative compared to them. I'm just
Mm.
conservative compared to scalpers, so to say.
Correct. Right. Right.
And so if I'm saying like, I don't mind taking a day off, I'm sure that there are people at hedge funds that are like both shitting themselves because of this 3% drop, but they're
Oh
also
no,
like
there
giving
was a
themselves a
lot of
moment
liquidation that happened for
to,
sure.
they're giving themselves a break to breathe. So I think
Yeah.
that, people have to also give themselves that kind of forgiveness, especially if they're in smaller accounts, because
Yeah.
you will get wrecked in one day if you just play your cards wrong,
I
sadly.
mean, human psychology is wild. It's emotions. I can't stress it enough. It really, it really is emotions, right? Like Friday was just such a perfect example of the state we're in, right?
Hmm.
Uh, like I made a like I joke around a little, like I joke around a lot actually, and because for me it's frustrating, but it's funny at the same time,
Hmm.
right? And I say that because us as educators and people who try to help folks, it's almost like no matter what we say, humans are going to always be emotional.
Hmm.
And it's like, how many times have I had to say, don't panic, relax, let the dust settle, and let's just see where things land? But people get themselves worked up because they are paying attention to, well, listen, Donald Trump is just an emotional trigger.
Hmm.
You just say his name and people just
Their skin
lose all
crawls
logic.
off their
They just
body.
lose all logic, bro. Like they just lose all logic. No matter how much I try to tell people, this guy is playing the game.
Hmm.
He's playing the game. He knows how to manipulate this market, period. So he understands I need to get emotional reactions out of people.
Hmm.
So again, hindsight, looking back, when I kept asking people like, what's going to be the one thing that can trigger it, I should have threw out there like a Trump tweet. You know what I mean? Because like it's just he just has that effect where
Hmm.
he will go off the rails and people automatically just lose all logic. Like I had somebody tweet me back like, man, what is wrong with y'all president? Nothing. He's playing y'all, and y'all keep falling for the same fucking trap. Excuse my language, but y'all keep falling for the same trap, bro. This happened in April. He been saying this since before he was even gonna be president. Tariff, 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 and yet and still, every time he says tariffs, people throw a hissy fit, and then not even 24 or 48 hours later, he walks it back.
Yeah, and the funny
Come
thing
on, man.
is that at this point, since the government is like investing in a lot of these companies, you know, right now the government is like getting screwed from two directions. They have these like phenomenally high interest rates on their debt, so that's getting them, but
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to buy into these companies to be able to participate in their upside, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to be taking positions in these companies or doing contracts with these companies when they're at their highs, because
Correct.
he essentially wants to create. So, I mean, it's odd because Donald Trump has literally Republicanized an exceedingly socialist ideology, right? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, let's not feed poor people, poor children lunch, because that's like a horrible, disgusting, like participation trophy kind of action. But why don't we start buying American companies and create a sovereign wealth because we're what, Norway? So anyhow, we have now this like massive government participation in the private sector, which is very weird. Um, but it is then not in the government's best interest for those to be buying at the highs, and that's
Correct.
essentially what they're doing. So they're getting screwed from like two different angles. The other thing, as they invest in private companies, those companies need to hire in order to satisfy whatever the government needs, because a lot of the R&D is like years
Mm-hmm.
behind where China is. So if we're all trying to play catch up now, the government's going to have to be like supporting a lot of R&D. That means they need to hire people. So all this conversation about the labor market loosening, the labor market loosening, the labor market loosening, um, is the labor market loosening? Isn't the government like literally finding a way to make federal workers, but just through the private sector instead of through the government sector? Aren't we just like rotating specialists from point A to point B? And, I don't know. Because I think Trump is also probably worried that if the unemployment numbers and the jobs reports don't come out as a complete disaster, Powell and the Fed have no reason to cut again.
Right.
And this is going to be a different problem for them. So
Yeah.
I think that Trump is like in his mind, he's trying to solve like eight different problems, and I think that he feels like when I pull this string, the other piece falls apart, but not the piece that I'm trying to fuck up. So he's
Yeah.
always like got his hand here and then creating a disaster here, but it's never the disaster he wants at the right time.
Yeah.
So I, I
I
I
think
think that he's in a doom loop himself.
yeah, so to expand on that, right? All right, if he is trying to solve eight things, we also have to remember what his priority, like what his top priorities are, right? Um, and number one, if anybody's not aware of this, you should know that one of the top metrics that he is going to always rate his presidency on is how well the stock market does.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think that he's really trying to purposely crash the stock market, you don't know Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, right? One of his campaign promises was that he wanted to make America rich again. Okay. How's he doing that? So, to like one of the things you said, the government is now investing in private businesses. But let's take
Mm-hmm.
it a step further. Look at the type of businesses they have done deals with. To your point, they look at where they have acquired these companies versus where they are now. So let's talk about it. Intel, he got a
Mm-hmm.
10% stake when it was trading in the 20s. Intel's now $35 and probably
Mm-hmm.
going to go higher. Let's talk about the next company, MP Materials.
Yes.
They got a stake in that company when it was
And they got a
MP
whole bunch of
Materials
warrants
was
as well.
MP Materials was $22. It is now $78. And not only did the government get a stake, so did Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go look at the other company that they just announced, TMQ,
Mm-hmm.
Trilogy Metals. They got a stake in that company when it was $2. It is
Mm-hmm.
now $6.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to like understand and listen to what the administration is telling you, and let's look at what they're doing. We have a stake in a semiconductor. Well, first of all, we know there's an AI race, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's take it back so we can connect it. This is all about the AI race.
Mm-hmm.
So he got a stake in a semiconductor company because the chips are essential to
Mm-hmm.
this AI race. In order to make these semiconductors and all of that stuff, these rare earth metals are just as important. So what did he do? He took a stake in MP Materials. Now he's
Mm-hmm.
got a stake in Trilogy Metals.
Mm-hmm.
That's the rare earth part. Let's
Yep.
also bring together, this is why ultimately now it's being known, this is why he wanted to buy Greenland. This is
Mm-hmm.
why the deal with Ukraine was so critical that he made sure he got Ukraine's rare earth minerals.
Yep.
Right? Like, so let's start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, people.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part is defense. They're looking, and I would not be surprised if very soon one of the next places they go to get a stake will be somewhere in the defense space. If it's not Boeing, it'll be some small ass out of nowhere company that's $2 or $3. They
Mm-hmm.
announce the stake, and next thing you know, it's up 200 or 300%. Right?
Yeah, I think
Like he's
drones. I
playing the
think
game.
I think that from so a lot of the work that I do in the humanitarian sector, like there are always these like weird kind of conversations that are like that pass us where we'll get from like different UN from different embassies at the UN like, oh, blah blah blah, and then like some weird footnote will be related to something, and all like now more consistently in all of our in our footnotes is things about the like the legalities of the use of different types of drones. And so
Yes.
I was like telling
Yes.
telling my community, I said these are like so three or four companies that seem to be reasonable, and now I can't even find my notes, so I
Well,
don't have
I
them
can tell you
listed.
off the top, you got AVAV,
Mm-hmm.
AVAV. You got Red Cat,
Mm-hmm.
RCAC. Uh, there's another one. It has like a long ticker, DRSHF. Drone Shield. That's the name of the company.
Okay. So that one
uh,
I didn't know about, Drone Shield. So some of the other companies are companies that
UABS.
you wouldn't know that they're into drones because it's not their main capacity, but
Mm-hmm.
they have like a portion of their
Yep.
company is using a part of
Yep.
their technology for something relating to drones. And it
Yep.
seems like four or five of these companies are kind of like lining up to be
Yep.
kind of the next thing. So I think people have to be doing research in that
KTOS.
area. Yes, KTOS and is it Carmen is the other one that I think is also going to do really well. It's basically, I mean, they're a smaller company to KTOS, but they seem to always be like just trudging along right behind, kind of like gold and silver. You
Mm-hmm.
can one squeezes, the other one seems to do well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a sector um, that is ready to kind of ready to go. I mean, it's already been moving, but I think
Yeah,
that
it's been
it's
moving, but no,
ready.
you're right, and that falls in that defense area. And
Hmm.
I have a buddy in my community, well connected. He's in the military himself, and I mean, he's kind of told us like that's where warfare is headed.
Hmm.
Drones. We're not gonna really be sending in soldiers and stuff like that no more. Like it's gonna be drone warfare. It's gonna be cyber warfare. That's where we're headed as far as
Hmm.
what does warfare in the future look like, right? And that's why, again, this AI and this these rare earth metals and stuff like this. Is why this stuff is so critical because a lot of this is needed for defense missile systems and you're the chips and all of that stuff. So it's always deeper than what is put into the general public,
Yep.
right?
I mean, the
And
reality is that, countries like Russia, they lost, more important than anything else, they lost young men in
mhm,
this fight with Ukraine. And
mhm,
I mean, one of the biggest paths to citizenship in the United States was immigration, legal immigration through the different military services. I have a lot of friends that got their US citizenship by going into like the army or one
mhm.
of the other
Military
branches.
branches.
And when they started cutting back on immigration and offering um, citizenship, the military saw a massive drop in what do you call it, new recruits, because
Hmm.
a lot of people were coming from third countries to work in the U.S. military, and then after, I don't know, it's like some years of service, and you end up getting the U.S. nationality. So if they don't want immigration and our birth rate is super low, they cannot be leaning on they cannot be leaning on the human person to go and like participate in these different kinds of battles, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day we just don't have the population anymore to do
Hmm.
that. And we're not the only country suffering. All of the Western world is suffering from very low birth rate because people are living a lot longer and hoarding
Hmm.
their wealth resources into their into their older age.
Yep.
And it's making it very difficult for younger families to be able to get up and you know on the stand on their own 2 feet without
Yep.
if they, especially if they don't have family support. And I mean, I think that this is a big issue that you know for defense, if they want to stay on top of things, they have to figure out a way to have an entire military without having people working in it.
Hmm.
Sadly,
No,
it
you're right.
sounds
I mean,
strange, but um
yeah, I mean that's just where that's where the world is headed. Shoot, what you think? What do you think they building these robots and stuff for, man? Like,
I mean,
it's yeah, the future is here, y'all. It's coming. It is coming, man. It's
I was
coming.
wondering, since you are actually living in the States,
Mm-hmm.
I was watching a documentary about basically the recession in the housing market, that there's like an oversupply of houses, that housing prices are starting to contract, that in more than 25, like more than half of the states in the US, that there's already a housing contraction because there's way too much supply but not enough demand. Are
Hmm.
you seeing that? Because I know that you live in like a
Uh,
really hot area. Do you see
uh,
that already in your area or not yet?
not in my area. So definitely not in my area. I, I don't know. Okay. If that is the case, it has to be regionally.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I know is we still have a housing shortage in the United States. Um, I think the biggest thing that has contributed to a slowdown in the housing market is just the interest rate piece.
Yeah.
I think that might be the biggest issue is the interest rate thing. But again, I think it's regionally because where I'm at,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't stopping nothing. Like
Well,
where
it
I'm
was
at,
it.
so I live in Northern Virginia, which
Mhm.
is around the DMV area, which is like outside of DC.
Mhm.
Um, and so like we have you know, there's not a lot of new builds unless you go like
Yeah.
way outside, right? You got to be way out. Like now, it's getting to the point where all the new builds are like in the area called like Manassas and Fort Lee and all that stuff, or not Fort Lee, but Leesburg, and all of
Mhm.
that is like an hour and a half outside of DC. Like we talking this, we don't even really even consider those type of areas. Well, maybe Manassas, but like we don't even really consider that like a part of the DMV.
Mhm.
But point being is in the DMV area, uh, couple of things work here well, which is we have really good school systems. So like
Mm-hmm.
the housing market is still booming. Like
Mm-hmm.
every in the neighborhood I moved into, every time a house goes up for sale, it sells within a week. And
Wow.
the sellers are still getting more than their listing price,
Wow.
even with interest rates where they
Mm-hmm.
are. And I would say there's other areas where it don't matter. As soon as a house go up for sale, people are buying them,
Mm-hmm.
and people have the mindset of I'll buy it now, and when rates go down, I'll just refinance,
Yep.
right? And I think and so if there is a housing recession in the United States, it's definitely regional,
Okay.
where
Yeah,
it's
because
got to be an area, huh?
I was looking at the map and like of Houston, where my house is, and my little area, it's like decline in housing prices for 2025 is like
You
0.01%.
said where's that area?
But that in Houston, but
But see, Houston's isn't that
but
like Texas is expanding.
well, that's what I thought. So when I looked at the map, so I live like right inside the energy corridor, like
Yeah,
literally like across from us is like all the,
right.
Conoco, Shell, Exxon, all that.
Yeah.
And so that area, I think just because of the location of the oil
Mm-hmm.
companies,
Mm-hmm.
that like it's impossible to find anything.
Yeah.
And then but then when I looked at the five areas like surrounding us, they
Mm-hmm.
were like there were some areas that were had like a 16% decline in housing values, and I was
So
like
you're right. I have, like I
16.
said, I've seen some of it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's regional,
Yeah,
right? And I think, yeah, at the end of it, I think it's just regional
yeah.
because you have some
If
areas
for
like
those
that,
in
but
for those that are watching this, if you're living in an area that is seeing a housing recession, let us know,
yeah,
because I was really surprised when they were talking about it. And um and one of the things that they mentioned obviously was that a lot of people like they're what do you that because of the interest rates,
yeah,
and that
that's the biggest
most
issue.
young families that are buying now are buying, essentially they're using like a vehicle through their parents retirement to
Yeah,
be able to finance the house, so the mortgage is actually in this like family kind of cycle. But the other thing they said is that people really underestimated how much um immigration, this like massive clampdown on immigration was going to impact rental prices, because they said that's almost across the United States, that rental prices are starting to roll over. And I'm not sure if, I mean, for those of you that know, if you own rental properties or whatever, if you are experiencing a contraction in like what you can charge people for rentals.
I do know that it has been for a while. It's been cheaper to rent than to buy.
Hmm.
I'm not too sure about the rollover in prices just yet. I mean, our tenant is locked in for 2 years, so I guess I'll find out next year when they got to move out. But we actually consider selling ours when they do move out. So, um, we'll see. But I don't know. I think it's a very mixed picture as far as the housing market in the United States goes, because it's very interesting to hear the perspective and the research you have, because I feel like some of the statistics and things I've been seeing is that there's still a shortage of
Hmm.
housing, and that while mortgage while people buying mortgages has slowed down, the main issue is the interest rates. But at the
Hmm.
same time, buyers are getting ready in anticipation for lower rates.
Hmm.
So when lower rates come back, I'm hearing we could see a housing boom where
Hmm.
all the people that got kind of locked out during the COVID, they'll be ready to buy, and they're just waiting for rates to come down. Now again, I'm probably in an area that's a little biased where, like, let's just keep it frank. the Washington D.C. area is recession proof.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Because in 2008, when the housing crash happened, they barely were affected.
Yep.
And there's just some areas that are recession
Hmm.
proof, and Washington D.C. area is one of them.
Yeah. I
And
have a
so
friend.
yeah,
She
like my
works in
perspective might
that.
be a
She
little bit
works in this
skewed on
area.
that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a friend that works in the area, and it's funny because she's always buying homes. And then when I went to visit her, she was living in this basically super tiny studio apartment. And I was like, wait, what is this? Like every time I'm talking to you, you're like talking about. She said, yeah, because I put all because this area is recession proof. So she's like, if a house comes on the market and I have the capacity to get a mortgage, she was like, I want to buy and get and rent it out as soon as possible. She was like, I don't care if I'm living in a shoebox. Like,
yeah,
she's like, that's what I'm going to do. So I agree.
yeah.
Like, I mean, that's what I've heard from people that live in the DMV area that their experience is
It's
truly
very different here.
unlike
It's very different here. Yeah,
other
it's very different.
areas of the United States. So it is interesting. So some people have said that the rental prices are coming down, but I think this was an area that people did not expect how much illegal immigration. I would not like to house everybody in that group, but how many people that are in the United States, maybe without documents for whatever reason, how much they contributed to rental prices being as high as they were. And I think that a lot of people who didn't think that they would suffer from competitive pricing are
Mhm.
starting. So I hope people aren't over leveraged in things like rental properties if those prices are going to come down in a
Well, I'll say
season
this.
where interest rates are still super high.
I'll say this: the Fed might be happy to hear that because the whole shelter inflation piece has been a big sticking point for them. So
That
if
is
that is the
true. I
case,
hadn't thought about that.
yeah, if that is the case, I bet the Fed might be a little happy about that.
Yep. So you already said that this week you're looking you're not looking to lean in too much, that you're going to let the market kind of set its pace on Monday and then maybe consider, but you are looking at Apple. That's
Yeah,
your
that's
that's
still my
your
main. Yeah, that's still one of my main names that I'm just going really heavy in. But yeah, I'll let you finish the question.
No. That was basically it. If there was something else that was like piquing your interest
Um,
at the moment.
yeah. Well, just in addition, right? I know I said yeah, I'm chilling this week, but also just so we can put it out there for people, it's also an OPEX week, options
Oh yeah, that's
expiration
true.
on Friday. So we could see some pending action as far as price goes.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, really just kind of just relaxing. Like I said earlier, it's the start of earnings season. But the names, let's talk about some names. So
Hmm.
outside of Apple, Amazon, right? Amazon. Look, somebody just put thoughts on
Yeah,
Amazon in
I
the
was about
comments.
to say you guys are on the same
No,
path.
yeah. So behind Apple is Amazon. It's negative year to date. Amazon is freaking negative year to date. So I am high on Amazon. It's the fourth quarter.
Hmm.
We about to. It is the holiday season, so that is one of my like worries with this shutdown is how will consumers shopping be how will that take a little bit of a hit with people not necessarily getting paychecks and stuff like that,
Hmm.
but even with a slowdown in consumer spending, Amazon's still going to be one of those top companies that if people do slow down spending, you still gonna spend on Amazon though. Like
Yep.
you might just be stop spending in other places, but Amazon still gonna get they still gonna get their love, right?
Hmm.
So I'm looking at Amazon, and Amazon currently year to date they are down 1.38%. So I don't think Amazon's going to finish the year negative. So
Yeah.
end of the year, I still think they have enough in the tank to where they could end the year somewhere around 260, which
Hmm.
would be a very nice fourth quarter run for them. Um, What else? Meta.
Mhm.
I like Meta. Again, I think they, Meta has been doing some very good things lately, and the price of the stock has not gotten any love. The
Right.
new Meta glasses, I thought that was a hit. That's
Hmm.
them $800 glasses. So, you start getting that
And
type
I
of
see them
revenue in.
everywhere.
Yeah, right. So
That's
I'm
what I
like,
was
yo,
surprised
what's
at. I
going
was
on
like,
here?
why do I feel like everybody has the same? So,
Yeah. So, them $800 glasses. And so I think that, when we see their earnings, it could possibly be another upside surprise. I want to say they just hit like 3 billion users on Instagram or Facebook or something like that.
mhm.
They're still continuing to do. They acquired a company not too long ago to help them with their whole data center stuff. And so, Meta is pretty high on the list. So that's Meta, Amazon. Who else? Meta, Amazon. I'm looking at my list here. I'm looking on my list.
Yeah, the translation features on those Meta glasses is phenomenal.
Well,
Oh
not only
my
that, did you
gosh.
see they have the translation on like Reels now? Listen, so matter of fact, Nightwave, who's on our live, he sent a video to me of Zuckerberg doing a video, right?
Hmm.
And he's like, "Hey, we just released translation reels, blah 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 blah, and you could try it." And then if you swipe on the video, it looks like it is him, but you can
Hmm.
tell that the mouth is AI, but it's really
Yeah.
good. You really can't tell
Hmm.
unless you're like really staring at it. But it automatic it's got Spanish, Portuguese, and a different language. And what he said in English, it says it in the different language, and it looks like it's him speaking the other
Wow.
language. It's
Mhm.
that damn good. I was like, holy shit. Like this is
Yeah, I've
crazy.
been seeing that a
Yeah.
lot, like because now
I'll
that
send you
we're
the video he sent me so you can see it. You're gonna
yeah.
be amazed. You're like, whoa, like it's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
since we moved here to Montenegro, I get now like constantly like 90% of my ads are for learning a new language.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, though, is that it's the same ad, but every time I see it, it's in like 10 different languages. And I'm like, well, and it's the same woman talking. It's like, it's a little bit creepy, actually,
Yeah.
but yeah, it
Yeah.
just shows how advanced. And I mean, like, Bosnian, Montenegrin, Croatian, Serbian, this is not a very, it's not like a huge language, but
Right.
I'm surprised, like, the way that I can translate for Zelaya and Xavier to do their homework,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like this because it's Cyrillic. It will then convert the Cyrillic to English so that we can
Mm-hmm.
see, but the English letters, right? So then we're
Mm-hmm.
like able to read it in Serbian, but
Mm-hmm.
with the English letters, and then it'll also immediately give us the translation to English so we actually know like the meaning, but that way we actually know the meaning of each word
Right.
in the construction. And I'm like, where was this when I had to learn Arabic?
Right.
But like, what is this? I had to
Right.
use a freaking whatever
Yeah.
dictionary, and you're like, okay, what's the three word root letters of the word, so I can go back and find the 5,000 other words that are related to this root word.
No. Yeah. Yep.
Kids don't know
No,
how we
it's
used to
amazing.
how to suffer in the good old days.
That's what I was about to say. This new age stuff, man, it's amazing. It's amazing. You can't even be mad at it. So, but yeah, but no, I think kind of getting back to what we was talking about. I think something else that's key is not so much name specific, but what I will say is, and this is something that people watching this should probably keep in mind as we now that we're in the fourth quarter, right? I know that sometimes people like to go like bottom fishing. But
Mm.
just be mindful of trying to get into stocks that are like super losers, because those will be the ones that will be used for tax loss harvesting. And so they
Mm.
still could see a little bit more selling pressure into the end of the year. And what happens is usually the ones that are the big leaders, they just go on even bigger run to the end of the year, because
Mhm.
these fund managers, they have to do window dressing. And so you don't want to tell your clients you weren't in the best performing names. And so they'll pile into the
Mhm.
winners and they'll continue selling the losers.
Yep.
So, I know, prime example would be, I hear a lot of people talking about like TTD.
Mhm.
That stock is down like 50 some odd percent year to date. I had a few folks ask me about it in my community. I'm like, listen, just wait till 2026.
Mhm.
Right? Like, because if you go back and look at who were the biggest losers in 2024, they still ended the year super down. Not only did
Mhm.
they end the year super down, when 25 came, you got somewhat of a retest of those lows, which gave you
Mhm.
the opportunity to get in
Mhm.
for the recovery in that happened this year,
Mhm.
right? So if you go look at like a chart like a Boeing or Intel or CVS, which were the top three losers, granted
Mhm.
this year they're like top three stocks where they've
Mhm.
recovered tremendously. But if you go look at those charts and put it on a yearly chart, all of them retested their 2024 lows
Yep.
and then proceeded to recover. So if you are trying to play those bottom feeders, I'm telling you, just wait. Just wait
Mhm.
till next year, and then when they do their retest, then you can get in if you think they're going to recover. And I would say, strength brings strength. So the ones that have been winning all this year,
Mhm.
they're likely going to continue to win into the end
Yep.
of the year.
Because the CTAs have to, that's the thing people
Yeah,
forget. CTAs have to buy them. It's like the legal requirement, and the ETFs have to
yeah,
buy them. And, as
yeah,
they get strong, I mean, yeah, there's kind of a cyclical, everybody talks about like the cyclical buying in
yeah,
like Oracle and NVIDIA, and like the,
yeah.
the, the loop. But people forget like the whole entire US stock market is cyclical buying, because everyone that has retirement has to buy, and every pension legally
Mm-hmm.
has to be
Mm-hmm.
long the US market. So I mean,
Yep.
and so there's always this kind of like what do you call it, like cyclical, like this feedback loop.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I always tell people have asked me about CRM, Nike, and I just tell people, if you are in a super bullish market and you cannot get any kind of structure to the upside, you just have to be really careful. And then they asked, but yeah, but you got into UNH and you got to ASML. But I said, there were like policy issues, there were events that drove the downward, that those like drops down. But once
Right.
those policy issues got solved or the event became known and it didn't change the structure of the business, then the companies have a chance to recover. But I
Right.
mean, like, you saw UNH break that downward channel. You didn't
Yeah.
see NVO break that downward channel.
Not yet.
You
Right.
know, we've seen some of the other like American Eagle has broken out, but Nike hasn't. So why do you want to be participating where things are demonstrating significant failure,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just leaning into the things that have already given you a base, are already showing you a breakout, are already
Mm-hmm.
giving you like price targets, have already done price discovery?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and a lot of these stocks that have been breaking out during 2025 after the whole tariffs thing, some of them are nowhere near all-time highs. They're
Mm-hmm.
recovering and they're marching up,
Tomorrow.
but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like they went from like 52-week lows to 52-week highs all in one stretch. I mean, a lot of
Right.
them are
Right.
still like just digesting up and still have a
Yeah.
long ways to go to get back to their previous highs, to be honest.
Yeah. Now there's
So,
still a lot of good setups out there. Like you said, yeah. So like a name. It's funny you mentioned Salesforce, because I think that's a name where I wouldn't say you're bottom feeding on it. Um, they're not having the best year, but to your point, it's a solid business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is one of those names where they can recover and do well versus something like you said, like a Nike, where the CEO, I think they recently came out after earnings and was like, the turnaround is going to take a while, right? You have to look, I think you have to also have a sense of being able to evaluate what's a good business or what type, is this company a industry leader, or, are they a shaker or mover? And maybe you're just seeing disconnection in a stock price. That
Mm-hmm.
is the category I will put a Salesforce in, because they are an industry leader. I would
Mm-hmm.
put them in the category of hey, they're just experiencing price disconnection, which is usually a good thing for retail folk. You just got to give yourself enough time for
Mm-hmm.
the thesis to play out and for the turnaround to happen. Prime example is AMD. They were getting
Mm-hmm.
killed last year, but it was a great business. That was just a
Yeah.
business that was suffering from price disconnection in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, if you bought yourself time, now you are super rewarded. Like
Yeah.
it made new all-time highs, right?
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
Monday. So it's like you just have to know, is this a business that they're experiencing price disconnection, or is there a fundamental issue like Nike?
Mm-hmm.
That's a fundamental issue with the
Yep.
business. Like
Yep.
they changed their model. They did a lot of things that messed that business up. They got a lot more competition,
Yeah. And
and
their pricing is their pricing
yeah,
is
you know what I mean?
crazy.
So it's like, another stock like that is Lululemon. A lot of
Yep.
people keep coming to me and wanting to play that. I'm just like, bro, are you buying $70 gym shorts now? I don't see too many people like buying. Most people are going to TJ Maxx, and if you look at TJ Maxx stock, it's booming, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
you
true.
really have to think about people's spending habits and patterns and things like that. You know, a lot of people just get caught up in the charts and like, oh well, it's super cheap. Just because it's super cheap don't mean it's a good buy. Like
Yeah.
it could be a
And doesn't
value
mean it
trend.
has to go back to all-time highs because
Right.
oftentimes all-time highs were set up for, like my problem with CRM is I think that it's getting hit because of the whole AI narrative. People genuinely don't know how much AI can end up degrading their core business model. Now,
Yeah.
it may save them having to hire new labor. They can
Right.
reduce capex. They can do
Right.
A and B and C. But I think that people wonder with CRM how
You're
much
right.
AI is going
Yeah.
to basically, replace a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff that they're doing. Where, um, yeah. So
No, you're
somebody
right.
was,
That's and I think there's a lot of software names that are suffering from
mm-hmm,
that fear of how much is AI going to eat into their business, right? That's
mm-hmm,
why, shoot, we could list, I mean, you like Adobe's been getting killed because of that, right?
yep,
Like that's a solid business, but they ain't been doing too well
yeah.
because there's a fear of, AI companies coming in and eating a lunch.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean,
at the
those
same,
that software is super complicated to learn and then to stay on
you
top
talking
of
about
it.
Adobe?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if you want to stay on top of like all of their suite of stuff,
products, right? Yeah,
you have to be stay on top and always be re-educating yourself. And for a lot of people, I mean, if you don't have um, a computer that's able to do all of the, what do they call it, rasizing your
yeah,
images,
yeah,
Jesus Christ, you're going to be sitting there for like one
for
one
yeah,
week trying to get all of your graphics to be updated because it takes like you need to have a supercomputer to be able to run all, like if you want to have lightning and photoshop and blah blah blah
yeah,
all running at the
yeah,
same time. It's crazy. But
yeah.
so yeah, I think, yeah, Figma is killing them. And I think one of the things is that a lot of companies that are really focused on doing one small thing really really well, people are buying the narrative. I think that things like Figma, Rigetti, Applied Digital, like some of these companies, people keep asking me, do you think that this is all just BS and these companies are going to like disappear? And I'm like, these companies are legitimate companies that are providing legitimate services. Like somebody was like, do you think IREN is a Ponzi? I'm like, it's not. it was a Bitcoin mining company, and now they're like loading
Transition.
their services
Yeah.
for AI. So like, no, it's a legitimate business. That's been a legitimate business. And to their credit, they saw an opportunity and said, fuck
And they
that, I'm
pivoted.
going over
Yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these small companies, they do one thing really, really, really well. And it
Mm-hmm.
could be that they get bought up, like
Yeah.
they may get bought up by somebody else later on, but,
Mm-hmm.
or there might be some merger of acquisition, but I mean, it's not that they're not doing something, they're just doing a really small something. And at this point, anything that can help you get smaller and require less energy to do the thing that you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you are a legitimate something that a bigger company has to look into, because right now their biggest capex is no longer labor, because they have AI that can help
Mm-hmm.
them uh, make their labor force more productive. But energy efficiency, if companies cannot get energy efficient, they're going to get crushed, because energy is a very limited supply right now, since we
Mm-hmm.
weren't
Mm-hmm.
going with nuclear 30 years ago like we should have. you
Yeah.
know we're behind whether we like it or not, and we're not the only ones that are behind. Everybody's behind, because
Right.
energy is such a limited resource. So, companies are having to like think through all of these pieces, and these small companies aren't just doing nonsense. It's not like uh, like the lunch cafeteria that says lunchcafeteria.com, and now I'm a .com company.
Right.
Is
Right.
That's not the
Right. No, it's not
phenomenon
like
we're
that. Yeah.
dealing with here.
Yeah. I think the piece is that the exuberance around the companies could be a little bit ahead, but it is legitimate businesses, like you're saying,
Hmm.
right? I know a lot of people keep saying that this, it's really reminiscent of '99 and the .com, but like you just said, the difference back then was you just do .com on your company, and you were, getting crazy valuations, no revenue, no none of that. And I mean, the top companies that are benefiting now actually make money. They're actually providing a technology and a service. So there are some differences from '99 to now. It's not the same, and to kind of, I think to even say what's going on now is the same as '99 discredits the shit. How long ago was '99? Almost 30 years. Shoot, more than
I
30
know.
years ago.
It feels like a
uh,
millennium
but
ago.
it would. I mean, it just discredits the amount of technological advance we've had since
Hmm.
'99 till now. Like
Hmm.
we are so much more better technic technology wise versus '99 than now, that it's not the same.
Yeah.
I know you may want to say, okay, well, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. Sure, right? Sure, I'll
Yeah, and
give you
I
that.
think that there
You
will be
know,
companies that won't stand the test of
right?
time.
Exactly.
But those companies, if they have any kind of IP, it's going to get bought up by somebody.
Yeah,
Somebody's going to want what they have. You don't have to stay in the positions forever, but I
right.
don't think, like, if you were getting into like applied digital at 6, 10, $12, I don't think you're like 10 years from now, I don't think you're going to be looking back at that investment and think that's what really destroyed my family's future. Now, if you got into like lunchcafeterialady.com,
Right.
yes,
Then right,
you
right, right,
deserve to
right,
lose
right,
it all.
right,
That doesn't make any sense.
right.
So, yeah. But so somebody was asking about NVOX. It's a 2 times long NVO ETF. I think that for anybody that's trading, like, these leveraged ETFs have started to become super popular, but all of
Leave them
them
alone.
leave alone. But all of them have, first of all, they have their own rules about how they are. So they say like they're 2 times long, 2 times leverage, or 3 times leverage, or A, B, C, D. But the thing is that you don't know what the multiples are that they're divided by, what they're like, what the exact ratio is, the timing on which they need to be reset, because they don't just only track the underlying at a multiple at just like
Right.
they cost 1/10 of the price of the underlying and then they can triple in value. That's not how it works. So each ETF, you need to go and see what are the rules of that specific ETF. And then you need to see how that is in comparison to the actual underlying that you want to hold, because it may not be, if especially if you're buying shares. A lot of these leverage ETFs are really great for like very short term moves, but not for like a long duration play. So if you want to be in something like you are buying leaps and you actually want to stay in your leaps for 6, 7, 8 months, then the leveraged ETF is not likely to be where you want. You also have underlying management fees. People forget that there are management fees to these things. So their
Yep.
performance is often never quite as good as the best performers in the space.
Right.
So I think I think some of the spider ETFs, they do really well to like keep their fees down and then really track the under like the sectors and the underlying really closely. But once
Yep.
you start getting into the leveraged ETFs, especially the max yield ETFs, those are like total disaster.
Listen, I think you hit the nail on the head. They're only good for short term momentum.
Hmm.
Outside of that, what I have come to learn about those things is they are really designed to take retail's money because they understand that retail looks at it as, this is a faster way for me to multiply my money. It's not.
Hmm.
And when you say, I think most people don't even understand that when you say it's a leverage fund, not only to Suzanne's point, they have all these extra fees and underlying fees. Family, y'all gotta understand, they're using debt to make these funds. So when we seen Friday sell off, a part of what exacerbated the Friday sell off was a lot of those funds got liquidated because they was using debt. So all
Hmm.
of those short term 2x, 3x funds and stuff like that you see, when you get those massive sell offs, why do you think they be down 50% in a day?
Hmm.
Because
Yep,
they getting
exactly.
smoked. They got, not only do these people that's creating these funds have to cover the margins, but again, they're using debt to
Hmm.
create these instruments. And
Hmm.
listen, personally, I just tell people stay away. Like
Hmm.
stay away. Because it's you trying to get rich quick. I'm just call it spade a spade. There's no
Yeah.
reason for you to be trying to use these funds. I mean, like you said, I mean, I get it, short term, cool, but
Hmm. I think it's
it's
nice
just
when
so
these
many safer
ETFs.
ways to make your money.
Yeah. I think when these ETFs came out, and initially it was more about giving people access at like a lower cost. But people are doing options on triple leverage on this is like you're leveraging a leveraged
You're
instrument.
right. Exactly.
Like,
Like you nailed it.
the
Just if you're gonna use it, just buy the shares. That's the
yeah.
point. But like you
Yep.
said, people are putting options on these things, and like you said, they're not realizing you're using leverage on something that's already 3x leverage. That's leverage on top of leverage on top of leverage. Like
Yeah,
what in the world?
eventually I mean, I think that there's a reason why you never hear about like people who became millionaires in trading and they like are talking about that I used those. I mean, after a while, you're kind of getting so far away from the thing you're investing in that you really have to wonder what it is that you're actually investing in and holding. I'm not saying like, you know, um, I know that there are a lot of people that use them and like them, especially to like get inverse pairs and make sure that you're not too long. SPY, you can use an inverse ETF and stuff. So, like if you know what you're doing, I'm not saying like, I'm not giving you any financial advice. What I hear on my side is when people talk about a lot of these leveraged ETFs, they have expectations of what it's supposed to do and what it will do that is completely contrary to like what it is supposed to do and what it is likely to do. So, that's why I don't really recommend them. So
Yeah,
yeah, but
I'm
all
with you.
right, we're already like at the beyond the top of the hour. So thank you so much for giving us your time. So for everybody that's still on with us, we are actually going to be moving this live to YouTube because live
Big
content
announcement.
is a lot easier, and we'll be able to share charts and be able to share screens. So I did want to let you guys know that if you are watching this with us and you're like a regular attender, um, we will be moving this to the Trade Speakeasy YouTube channel, and so we'll get those announcements out there to you guys. But I did want to let you guys know I wasn't organized enough to get it ready for this week because we were camping all weekend. It's still so
Mm,
sunny here that I was like, we
good.
better take advantage of this sunny weekend before we start the raining season. But then I
I was
will.
gonna ask, do
Then
y'all have all four seasons over there?
we do. So
Mhm.
usually already we would be in the raining season, but we've had so it's funny because it's warmer down by the sea, and up in the mountains we already have snow, and both of those things are kind of abnormal. So
Oh
normally in
wow.
October we don't have snow already at like
In the
in
northern
the
part.
mountains. So when we went up to go camping, it was, I mean, the temperature difference was unbelievable. Like we were wearing like full on winter clothes at the top. And by
Mm-hmm.
the time we got down from the cable car, we were like sweating. We were like, I couldn't get all of this off. Like we were like
Oh
ready for
wow.
bikinis. It was, my
Right.
kids were like, it's crazy. And actually, at first, we thought they had a heater on. And the kids were like, why do they have heaters down here? Why didn't they have the heaters on the roller coasters? And I was like, yeah,
Right.
that's a good point. And then when we finally got to the car, we realized, no,
No, it's
it's
just actually warm.
really hot outside. So,
Right.
because we
Wow.
saw people swimming in the sea, and I mean, in October, that's you don't see that many people like do like
Yeah.
swimming, but so all the winter sports are still there, and people are getting ready for the skiing season.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm
Nice, nice.
I'm excited for that. But yeah, we have all four seasons, but
Mm-hmm.
and they're probably we get to experience them more because we have so much forest, and then we have the mountains and then the sea, like all
Mm.
within like a
Yeah,
30
all yeah.
minute. I mean,
Wow.
we live right on the water, so we're right
Okay.
on the sea, but and the mountains are actually just behind. It's really crazy. We're like right on the mountain on the water.
On the water. Nah, that sounds beautiful. I mean, I see some of the background in the pictures and stuff like that you post. Definitely like beautiful out there. I
Yeah.
show my wife. I'm like, yeah, we got to go visit over there.
I know. I was telling Derek. I said we should have a like a macro Sunday live, and then you guys should all come here, and then we should do it live from Montenegro.
Look, listen, we
I,
just got our daughter passport, so we are ready. We ready. Like,
I was
yes.
like, I'm sure there's not one wife that is gonna oppose this idea.
Oh, yeah, you're right. She'll be down.
Yeah, Imran came with his kids this summer, and his
hmm
kids were like, "Okay, when are we coming back? Tomorrow? Can
Right.
we be back
We need to
tomorrow?"
move
So,
there. Yeah. No,
yep.
yeah. Like I said, I see some of the stuff. I'm like, man, it is beautiful out there.
Yeah, we're really blessed. And I was telling the so anybody who watched Game of Thrones, half of Game of Thrones was like filmed in our backyard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember I was watching like the making, and they said they made it over in that area. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm
it's all on the Croatian side, but if I like flip my camera around, the mountain that's like facing this way is Croatia. So we're right at the
Oh, okay. So
border
right
of
there.
like this side of the mountain is Bosnia, this side of the mountain is Croatia, and then we're just on the Montenegrin side. But it's not even 10 minutes to Croatia, 10 minutes to Bosnia. So this whole area, that area between Bosnia and Croatia was where they had all the filming. So you can actually do tours of the like all the Game of Thrones sites, I guess,
Oh,
from
really?
what you told me. Yep. So
Nice.
for
Well, yeah,
anybody
I
that
was a big Game of Thrones guy, or I still am. So I would love
Yep.
that.
So it's funny because our neighbors, During the summer, we were like our house wasn't ready, so we were staying in another house, and the whole building that was next to us was like empty, and I was like, why is the whole villa is just entirely empty, which is strange. And they said,
Hmm.
oh, yeah, because actually it was bought out for the cast of Game of Thrones. So when they would like take their breaks, they would like come and stay here
And hang
and
out there.
then go back over to shoot. That way they'd have a little bit of reprieve since here
Hmm.
it's much smaller than Croatia. So yeah, so they have lots of memorabilia and stuff. And I was like, you must be joking me, right? And so
I'm looking at it on the map. I'm like, oh wow.
see, and then look, there you go. The Night Way is also saying, yes, Dubrovnik is gorgeous. It's a little bit oversaturated with people. It's not the funnest place to like drive around because the roads and stuff
Mm.
are still, but the whole coastline is just phenomenal.
So you live on the coastline.
Yeah, yeah, I live right on the coast.
Okay, got it.
So if you like look at Dubrovnik, and then I live right at the border of Montenegro and Croatia. So I live in Herceg Novi.
Yeah, I see
So
it. It's right there. Yeah, no, no, no. I see it now. I'm looking at it. I was about to. I don't know how to pronounce none of it, but when you say it, I'm like, oh, that must be that part.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
So
I see
we're
the you saw Dubrovnik. Yeah, okay, got it,
yeah.
got it,
So
got it, got it.
that's the nicest thing. That the one of the reasons we picked this town is because you can just the drive from here to even like to Mostar to Dubrovnik to even down to Albania. I mean, we've already been to Kosovo, to Albania. We've been to Croatia about a billion times now, but over to Bosnia, I mean, it's like everything is like just here, and it's beautiful. That's like
It's
people
hey,
have
wait a
such
minute,
a
Kosovo. That's a country.
well, technically, it's a province. It's not an independent country, so technically, it should be independent from Albania, but so it functions like its
So
own
what is what
country.
about North Macedonia? Is that a country too?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah, like I'm looking like I'm like Kosovo. I ain't never heard of that country.
Well, because because in the when they all split, Kosovo wanted to become its own country, but it was still part of it still remained part of Albania. And so like
Ah,
part of their government is still part of Albania, but Albania is so a lot of people confuse, they think that Albania was also part of Yugoslavia, but it was not. Albania is like its own country and Macedonia was its own country. It's just Bosnia Herzegovina, Croatia, Montenegro, and Serbia. Those four were part of former Yugoslavia, and part
ah.
of um, Slovenia.
So I'm guessing when Yugoslavia broke up, they became all of these
Hmm.
smaller nations. Okay, got it,
Yeah.
got it, got it.
So, but all of them fought for Montenegro because Montenegro has because Serbia and Bosnia don't have um, like they don't have port cities, and when
Right.
they were fighting in the war, the biggest aspect that like protected them um was their like marine, what do you call the like their navy and
You
their
see, yeah.
submarines. They have like they had super advanced submarine technology, so you can actually go around and like go into the old submarine bunkers, and they have like areas where they were so advanced you could they
In
could park a
Montenegro.
yeah, yeah. They could
Oh,
park a submarine and like rebuild the entire submarine inside a hidden bunker, like in the edge of the mountain. You can go and like see and then learn. Yeah, it's
dang.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really, really, really
Yeah,
phenomenal.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah, looks like I know some. You know, once the kids get a little bit older, send them to the grandparents. Hey, babe, I got a place for
There
us to
you
go.
go. You and your wife can enjoy
Yeah,
yourselves without the
yeah.
kids.
No,
But
that's pretty
yeah,
cool. That's pretty dope. Appreciate the
yep.
history lesson. I had no clue.
You know, a lot of people, even me, like, I love the history of this area, and I
Mhm.
probably wouldn't have known as much as I did, but we were doing a peacekeeping project in Kosovo, like way back when I first started. So we
Hmm.
had to learn a lot about like what was going on and what happened and the politics, ABCD. But yeah, but it's such a beautiful part of the world, and it's basically like unknown because people have such a horrible um like a horrible what do you call it? It has a bad reputation that it like
Um,
carried over from the time of um the the time of the like
when it
former
happened,
Soviet
got it.
Union. It's the same like Russia. I mean, Russia's absolutely gorgeous, but people have such a horrible like if you haven't been stigma, that's the right word.
There you go.
They have
Sigma.
a there's a
I was just like
there's
perception, but
yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, but there's some countries that you think they're like the like people used to tell me Syria must be the ugliest country. And I was like, what you see in Syria, you will never find anywhere else. I was like, you
Mhm.
will not go to Syria and then say, "Oh, I've seen this elsewhere." Impossible. Cuz I mean like
That's
half
the
of the
power of
Bible
propaganda.
I was like, half of the Bible stories, like you can literally go to Lazarus's house where Paul went when he became blind, and he sent him to Saint Lazarus. And then when
Hmm.
Saint Paul had to climb over the Damascus wall in
Yeah.
order to escape from those who were trying to kill him, all of that is still there. And it's all in
Wow.
the Christian quarters with all of the churches, and you have Greek, Armenian, all kinds of churches. Even the language of Christ is still spoken in Damascus till today. But people that because he spoke Aramaic, and it's not like a very popular language, but the
Hmm.
Aramean communities still use it. But
Wow.
people would say that like that those things don't exist. But when you go to some places in Syria, you have like the oldest churches in the world. Oh, and entire cities are actually named after the Christian history. But
Wow. But yeah,
yeah,
like you said, that's the power of the power of the media, power of propaganda.
I know it's so
Mhm.
sad. But
It is.
anyhow, all
No.
right, friends. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And next week we will see you on YouTube. So
Yes.
don't come here to find us. Hop on
Go
over
to
to
YouTube. We'll
YouTube.
make sure
So,
we'll post the links and all that good stuff. So,
yep,
yep.
absolutely. And if you're not following either of us, go follow the other one so you always get the
Yep.
updates about our Sunday activities. All right. Good luck
Awesome.
tomorrow, friends.
Everybody have a great trading week.
Bye for now.